Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? I think this is like take 10 of this video because I'm talking about something I don't think is easy to understand. But we're going to try anyway. I've been doing it for about 10 takes before this. But anyway, I wanted to shoot a video tonight on my street so you can see the street that we live on. But there just wasn't enough light, so I had to come over to this park. And the reason I want to do that is because a lot of people accuse me of being homeless because I'm walking around late at night and it doesn't look like I got any place to stay. So I was going to show you my street, but maybe at another time. So what I want to talk about tonight is I've been called out a lot in the comments and different places about saying that you can't short EOS. And people have been correcting me, saying, yes, you can. There's exchanges where you can short EOS. And let me explain that to you and explain to you what I meant. What I'm talking about is selling futures against EOS. So I'm talking about writing a contract, which would be buying a put, and then the only exposure you would have would be the price of the contract. So if the contract is not profitable, it expires worthless. What everybody's talking about with me is they're talking about a margin account, or you don't even need to call it a margin account. You just need to call it borrowing money. So you go out, and you don't have to go to an exchange to do this. You could do this you can go to your own bank. You can go to your house, take a home equity loan out. You can buy EOS, hold on to EOS, and then sometime in the future sell EOS. Or like if you sold EOS after you bought it and price went down, you buy it back when it's a lot lower and pay off the loan, and you can actually make money on that and pay the interest back. That's what you're talking about. I'm talking about futures contracts, and that's not available for EOS. So that's what I don't like. I don't like futures contracts because that's leveraged. That's leveraged bearishness. That's where you can have write a lot of contracts, and you can have a lot of effect on the market because you don't have to own it. You know, in the case that you're talking about, you actually have to own it and then sell it. What I'm talking about, where you don't even have to own it, you just write a contract. Futures contract would be like buying a put, and then that would guarantee you a position. And, you know, if the price went down, the contract would pay. If the price doesn't, then the contract was worthless. That's what I'm talking about. And you can't do that against any of the cryptos, except maybe Bitcoin because it's traded on the Chicago board. So that one would be the only one you could be able, and all the others you can do. That's the only thing I was talking about. I was talking about writing futures contracts, not talking about selling on margin or borrowing and then buying it and then selling it later to pay back the loan. To me, that doesn't bother me. Don't feel that affects the market whatsoever. That's not leveraged. That's not being leveraged in the markets. That's actually, if you buy it and then you have to sell it later or buy it back, I don't really care because you're actually having to own EOS to play the market. You're actually having to own the token in order to do this. I don't like it when you don't have to own the token and you can still affect the market in a bearish way. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm sorry but I think this is important because people should talk, because this stuff gets thrown around. People go, oh, people are big whales are shorting EOS. And you know, we need to be afraid of this because they're like, no, you got to buy it first before you can sell it. So it's not hurting it by that. But this idea of shorting is in people's minds because everybody's using that fairly, using that term fairly generically. It's a generically way of, but it's just basically a loan. That's all it is a loan. Anybody can borrow money to buy something. That's not, to me, being having leveraged shorting the market with a lot of leverage, like a lot of contracts, like what's going on with Tesla right now. That's what's going on with Tesla. So anyway, I'm sorry about that, man, because we're not stock traders. We're computer people. And, it's like explaining a computer technology to somebody that's in the stock market. It's kind of like a crossover. But then again, it does affect this because there's a lot of people that think that, if you have people shorting, oh boy, we better be worried about it. But that's not the case with EOS. And I like that. That's a true market to me, that you don't have people out there able to write contracts and short the stock or short the crypto. Because you can really hurt something when you got a lot of people shorting, because their only exposure is the cost of the contract. So I won't talk about it anymore because it gets a little complicated and it even gets me confused. So let's not talk about it anymore. Let's talk about EOS. One of the things I would like to talk about, and maybe I will talk just a little bit more about the stock market, because I was in the stock market for a long time. In 1985, the very first stock I was involved with was a company by the name of Touch Dialogues. Touch Dialogues. Company out of Fort Collins, Colorado. 1985 was we raised, I think, $1.5 million for that company. It was a pink sheet, which is the penny stock, basically. And the company opened at 2 cents, so it was a double on the very first day. What Touch Dialogues did was they had the first touch-sensitive computer screen. So it was a screen where you could touch it and you could navigate by the computer screen. So I've been in technology a long time, 1985, with the first touch-sensitive computer screen. Name of the company is Touch Dialogues out of Fort Collins, Colorado. The CEO of the company was a guy by the name of Paul Knight, real tall, slender guy, really good guy, very technical-minded, wasn't a good salesperson, but a very technical guy. And the company went to 2, I think maybe went to 3 cents at the very top of the market, a triple, which is nice if you bought on opening. The very next company we were involved with was a company by the name of Electra Funds. A guy by the name of Jack Legg was the CEO of it. Another company out of Fort Collins, Colorado. At the time, I was a broker in Denver. This was a company that had and this is 1985, so you got to think this is way ahead of the game. Way ahead of the game. They had a terminal that was set up at a point of sale, like we do every day today, where you slip your credit card and the funds come out of your bank. This was the very first. It was called Electra Funds, and it was in 1985. Back then, they had what they called the knuckle buster, where you put the credit card and the carbon in a machine and you slammed it real hard. You got an imprint or got a carbon of the credit card, and then you signed it, and that was your receipt. We had no electronic funds transfer. This was the very first. Both of these companies' technologies was sold to somebody else, sold to somebody else, and I lost track of them. But anyway, I was there, right in these initial days of touch-sensitive computer screens, electronic transfers from banks, from terminal or from point of sale to the bank. All this stuff was new technology back then, and I saw it grow, I saw it take off, and I was involved with it as a stockbroker. So fast forward to where we're at today. I get involved with, EOS. And much like 1985 when I saw the touch-sensitive computer screen and the Electra Funds transfer from terminal to bank, I could see the technology and I could see what was going on in the future. Well, that's what I'm seeing right now with EOS. I'm seeing the future and I'm seeing what's taking place. I did a little video on it last night, and I did the thing with the maybe with the Ouija board or with this, the fortune telling stuff. Some people kind of thought that was, that I'm some sort of witchcraft guy or something like that. That wasn't the point. The point, I was just trying to make it a little bit funny, but it wasn't anything about I'm seeking, some evil spirits out in the universe to tell me what EOS is going to be. So if that's what you're thinking, now it's not the case at all. I was just trying to make it a little bit funny. So. The only thing we have to compare this launch to as far as EOS, and this has been a long video and it's kind of been a little bit all over the place. That's okay. Sometimes we do videos like that. That's kind of entertaining. So let's just try to finish this off with some sort of a understandable point, something that makes some sense. So we have Ethereum. I want to talk a little bit about Ethereum, because Ethereum is what we have now to base what EOS is going to do. The only other smart contract platform out there trading, and people can see kind of what's going on. Ethereum was launched in July 2015. By 2016, I believe it was a couple dollars. All through that first 6 months, it's a few dollars. I don't know if it rose much above that. But eventually, 3 years later, it was at $1,300. That's 13,000% increase. I've never heard of anything like that. I've never seen anything like that. That's like the biggest thing I've ever seen is that 13,000. Maybe Bitcoin was bigger. I don't know. But these are crazy, crazy returns. So we're at with the jumping off point here of EOS, where this is getting ready to be launched. And who knows? 13,000%. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that would be a lot, especially because EOS is a lot bigger deal than Ethereum. but because EOS is it has 1 billion tokens. But this is kind of crazy stuff, and I really think you're going to see some huge returns on EOS, and that's why I think it's important to be involved right in the very beginning. Just like I was talking about with the two companies in 1985, the people that were involved in the very beginning, they made a lot of money, and they watched the appreciations very quickly after that. This is a time that you need to get involved. This is the time to be involved. This is the time before the thing actually launches. Just like with Ethereum, once it started launching and people realized, hey, we can do initial coin offerings and smart contracts, and there's other things, even though they didn't have the speed, it still had an incredible value because of the possibilities that can be formed or done or built on this platform. Well, same thing with EOS, especially except for the fact EOS has a lot better platform to do it on, with the speed and with all the other technologies that they bring into it, the ability to vote, all this other good stuff. So 13,000%. Just stick that in your mind and think about that for a little bit. Run it around in your mind. 13,000% in 3 years. If EOS does anything close to that, there's going to be a lot of very happy people out there, and I think that's very, very possible. And I'm actually looking for that to happen. So anyway, like I say, the video ran a little bit long tonight. I had to cover this thing about the covered shorts and the puts and the calls and all that other good stuff. So anyway. I hope you were able to understand it just a little bit better, and I hope I don't get any more comments on that either. And if people misunderstood me, then I apologize. But that's what I meant. I'm talking about writing futures contracts, not about borrowing money and buying it and then selling it. So anyway, I better end it tonight because I'm getting a little bit long. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you watching.